Welcome everyone to another video. Today we'll be talking about the lockdowns. Mainly the ones in Ontario since Doug Ford keeps putting us into them. But wherever these rules and restrictions apply, I think it's all terrible. So let's begin. The last day things were completely normal for me was March 16th. And on that day, it was supposed to be 2 weeks to slow the spread. Just 2 weeks. And then shortly after, they extended it and it was about 3 weeks. And ever since then, they've continually extended the lockdowns. They made it illegal to see your friends and family, and you would get charged if you do so. Up until recently, I didn't think anything of it, even though I was decently smart. I was less smart back then, and now I'm a fucking genius. So now I realize that the lockdowns are bullshit. They would lift a little bit of the restrictions, and people would be allowed to do a little bit more. And because of this, the cases would have gone up, meaning they would have an excuse to put us back into lockdown. The government shouldn't be allowed to charge us for seeing our friends and family. And if they ever give themselves this amount of power, it should be met with opposition from the people. Apparently, some people have even been called selfish for defying these rules to see their friends and family. I haven't seen it happen to anyone else, but I have been called selfish for doing this once. And if you ask the person what's selfish about seeing your friends and family, they wouldn't be able to give you a good enough answer. And that's because there's nothing selfish about it. And if you think it's okay to call the cops on anyone for having friends and family over, then there is something wrong with you. And any cop who goes to someone's house to hand them a ticket for having their friends and family over, there is also something wrong with them. And you're just doing your job is not an excuse for it. The government also closed down businesses that they decided were non-essential, even though every business is essential because every business provides people with money that they could then use on rent, food, or whatever else they need. Closing down the business is detrimental to so many people. The employees could lose their jobs, and the owner could lose his entire business. And there was no reason for them to close down any of these businesses. And now you're probably thinking, well, there was a reason, it's because of the Rona. Which is an invalid reason since worldwide, in Canada, and in Ontario, there's a 98% survival rate, and most cases are mild. The recoveries and amount of mild cases are so large, yet Ontario has yet to fully open. And we still have certain restrictions in place. I don't know about any other parts of the world that still have some of these restrictions, or even lots of restrictions, but anywhere that does needs to end them as well. And in March of 2020, the CDC did a study and found that about 90% of people hospitalized had pre-existing health conditions. And I'm sure this number is still high today. I saw someone responding to one of Joe Biden's tweets asking him to try and talk to Justin Trudeau to try and end these lockdowns. And 2 people responded to him, and I really like these replies, so I'm gonna show them here. The first one says, "You don't ask for your liberties to be given back. You take them back. Learn from history." And this other one says, "Dude, never wait for the government to give you permission to live as a free man. That is a God-given right. Carry on." I like these tweets because they explain how if the government ever tries to take away your freedoms, you shouldn't let them, and if they try, it should be met with resistance. From the start, the lockdowns should have been met with resistance from a majority of the people, but they weren't, which made the government realize that, yes, they can enforce these rules. Since most of the people didn't oppose these rules, the government realized that they can enforce them because it won't be met with that much opposition. And I believe that this whole thing isn't about safety, because it isn't. It's about controlling the people. They want people to be obedient to the government and never oppose them. They want them to obey them without question. Now that you've seen this video and you've seen the numbers, hopefully you'll walk away realizing that this is all bullshit. Recently, Ontario entered Stage 2 of reopening, and on July 16th, they plan on entering Stage 3. Well, we shouldn't be in any stages, we should have just been fully open the whole time, but it's all part of the game they're playing. Up until I think March of this year, I didn't realize any of these things, until my brother posted the numbers for Canada onto his Instagram story. Then I thought, maybe this whole thing is bullshit. As much as me and my dad talk about politics, he never really mentioned to me that the lockdowns are terrible and not a thing that we should allow. But I'm glad I figured out a lot of this on my own. And I'm glad my brother posted the numbers to his story, otherwise I wouldn't have realized these things. Realizing this has also made me smarter, made me realize that I need to think for myself 100% of the time, and that the government is corrupt and the media is the enemy of the people. I hope the lockdowns go down in history as a terrible, tyrannical thing that the government did to the people. and not something that the government did for the people's safety. And a point involving the vaccine. People think we need this vaccine to get back to normal, even though we could have been normal the whole time if we just resisted the lockdowns. And anyone who gets the vaccine to try and stop these lockdowns instead of protesting or doing something to resist them is a coward. Staying home, wearing masks, socially distancing, and all these other things should have been recommendations and not laws. And if the government can enforce these lockdowns, then they have too much power. And one more point before the outro. I don't care if restrictions slow the spread, because those same restrictions violate people's freedoms. Well, those are my opinions about the lockdowns. If you disagree, you can leave a comment, message me on Twitter, message me on Discord, or join my Discord server and we can debate there. Whichever one you want. So I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.